It's now my opportunity to recognize a U.S. Senator who has done so much for this movement, for this cause, and for advancing the aims that we all hold dear. It's my privilege to introduce Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon. Each year at the Good Jobs, Green Jobs, the Blue-Green Alliance has honored leaders in the fight for clean environment and for good jobs. And we acknowledge them with our Green Jobs Champion Award. Past recipients have included Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, Congressman Henry Waxman, Senator Ed Markey, and former Energy Secretary Stephen Chu, and Senator Debbie Stabenow from Michigan, and of course Congressman John Dingell last year, Sherrod Brown, and Congressman Bobby Rush. This year we're honoring two great champions, Congressman George Miller, who received his award last evening, and Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon, who is here today. Senator Merkley is a strong and effective voice in the Senate, working to protect working people and to promote the growth of clean jobs in the United States. He's the son of a millwright and the first of his family to go to college. Prior to his election to the Senate in 2008, he was the national security analyst at the Pentagon and at the Congressional Budget Office. He led Habitat for Humanity's Portland office and was Democratic leader in the Oregon House of Representatives. Senator Merkley supports clean energy as a way to replace millions of jobs lost in the manufacturing sector and other sectors in recent years, and to end our dependence on foreign oil, and to curb pollution that threatens our children and our environment. And he believes strongly in providing for a skilled workforce. In the Senate, he has put forward bills to increase energy efficiency for our nation's building stock, as well as bipartisan legislation to spur the growth of America's electric vehicle sector. Senator Merkley is also a leader in the cause to repair America. He is an advocate for investments to rebuild our infrastructure system and to modernize transportation. For his work to repair America, to build an energy future, and to protect our environment, the Blue-Green Alliance honors Senator Jeff Merkley with the 2014 Green Jobs Champion Award. Senator Merkley. Oh.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's pretty cool. And thank you very much. And thank you for being here as part of the Blue-Green Alliance. Barbara Bird is here from Oregon. I think she may be back. There she is, Barbara Bird, and the Oregon delegation. A special welcome to you. Thank you for coming so far to be part of this conversation. And the Blue-Green Alliance certainly is hard at work in our state. The state of Oregon wants good paying jobs, and it wants an environment that works well to pass it on to our children and our grandchildren, our stewardship of this earth. And so I couldn't be happier than to be part of this conversation about how to accomplish both objectives. And I think about those words we heard echoing from a few years past during the first Obama presidential campaign, the fierce urgency of now. That certainly creates a sense of the challenge for middle-class jobs and the challenge for addressing carbon pollution and other issues affecting our environment. And I think about this in the context of the travels I have around my state. When I was running, I said I'd be in every county every year holding a public forum, and I've held over 200 of those. They've been held in about 125 towns, logged about 26,000 miles, and I must say that in the course of that, I get to see a lot of beautiful territory. For those of you not from Oregon, just a little secret, Oregon is the most beautiful state in the United States of America. Yeah, I know there's a little competition for that, but I assure you, come visit. But in the course of those 26,000 miles in many cities, towns, I've also seen something that's not so beautiful, and that's our crumbling infrastructure. Bridges that have load limits because they can't beat the modern standards and they're decaying. We have schools with buckets set out for the rain to drip into because the roofs haven't been repaired. We have roads that are deeply challenged and need to be maintained and improved. And the list goes on. And when you look at that, you realize that investment in our infrastructure needs to take place. A lot of folks talk about the budget deficit, but we need to talk more about the infrastructure deficit. How many of you are part of organizations that would benefit if we were investing more in infrastructure? That's what I thought, absolutely, because this is about good paying jobs today, and it's about a strong economy in the future. If we get serious about rebuilding America's infrastructure, we will make a serious impact on restoring middle-class jobs. So let's get serious on our transportation systems, our water systems, our energy grid, restoring the energy efficiency of our homes and buildings. Investments in infrastructure are investments in good-paying jobs. Now, I want to follow on Larry's comments about repairing Congress, because many of you have been involved in a coalition that was helping to send a message to the Senate that we need to fix the broken Senate. And we made the first major down payment on that by fixing the nomination process in regards to the filibuster in November. That was a huge step in the right direction, and thank you very much for your efforts to make that happen. Well, occasionally, even in this broken Senate, in this Senate that is more a deep freeze than President Washington's apocryphal cooling saucer, even in this deep freeze, occasionally something good happens. And I wanted to mention two of those items as a model for what we need to do more of. And the first is the Rural Energy Savings Program. This is low-cost loans done through rural electrical co-ops. The government lends at 0% to the co-ops. The co-ops lend at a couple percent, just enough to cover the potential losses, to owners of buildings, both commercial and residential, so they can do energy-saving retrofits. Now, this concept has more bang for the buck in creating jobs than anything else we can do. When I was first advocating for this, I had two bills. I had the Building Star bill and the Rural Energy Savings Program. And Senator Warner had a third component called Homestar. And because the Senate was broken, we didn't get any of the three passed. But former President Clinton came into our caucus to talk about gearing up the economy, revving up the economy. And he said, the biggest thing we can do is low-cost loans, low-interest loans for energy-saving retrofits. Why is that? It's because you can't outsource any of the labor, and the vast bulk of the materials, more than 90%, are made here in the United States of America. So there's virtually no loss outside the economy. So the entire time that President Bill Clinton was talking about this having the most bang for the buck, I was sending him mind waves. I wanted him to say, and two of the bills that need to be passed are from the senator from Oregon, Rural Energy Savings Program, or Rural Star, and Building Star. It didn't work. But I did talk to him afterwards and encourage him to emphasize the specific legislation that was underway. Well, the good news is one of those bills I was able to get into the Farm Bill, and the Farm Bill just passed, and it's gone to the President, so we have, for the first time, the low-cost loans for energy-saving retrofits as a model, and hopefully as we make it successful and build partnerships with rural America, we will create more jobs and we will create a model on which the Senate and House can expand in the near future. A second thing I wanted to talk about was WIFIA, Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act. As I was going to all those towns, I hold a meeting before the public town hall with the city commissioners and the county commissioners and say, what are you most concerned about that has some sort of federal partnership involved? And almost always water projects come up. And why is that? Well, one is a lot of the infrastructure was built after World War II. It's aging, it's at the end of its life. A second is that there are new standards for clean water supply and wastewater treatment that need to be met. And the third is growing population or preparation for an industrial zone needs greater water infrastructure. And so this is an obvious thing. Let's take this model from the transportation world, TIFIA, and let's put it in the water world, and it will create infrastructure projects all over America, dispersed from rural towns to big cities. So WIFIA has now passed the Senate. WIFIA is in the conference committee as part of the Water Resources Development Act. So it is my hope that the conference committee will lead to a partnership between the House and Senate. We've been in this little oasis recently. We've been going through the desert, not much has been happening, it's been very difficult, and we come into this we pass a bipartisan bicameral budget, we pass a bipartisan bicameral appropriation bill, we pass the farm bill. Let's extend that just a little bit more and pass a bipartisan investment in infrastructure through the Water Resources Development Act. Well, my hope is simply that through this conversation, we can create a better economy for working America, and we can create a better environment. I hope that as I go through my next 200 town halls, or next 26,000 miles, I'll see not only a beautiful, beautiful Oregon, but beautiful, gleaming, important, critical infrastructure putting Americans back to work. Thank you very much for inviting me to come.